Hey everybody, it's me, Kelly, and this is a old canvas that I had that I just smeared gesso on. You can see that apparently I had some watercolor underneath of there, and it bled through the white gesso, which I'm not concerned about. I didn't care that the whole canvas was covered, and I didn't care that the colors were coming out. I was going to use this canvas, but instead, that's the canvas. I have a video on how to salvage a canvas. So instead I changed my mind because I think I want to use that for the background of my girl that I had painted the other day, but I'm not real sure. So I didn't want to ruin it just in case. And I'm going to change the hair color on her because I don't like the blonde. So, here we are again. Like I said, all I did was took an old canvas that I had. You can use art journal, watercolor paper, whatever you have. You can even make what you want and just use a paintbrush and smear all your extra paint off and onto a piece of watercolor paper, and then do this after you're done because that was all that was underneath. I pulled a few stencils because I'm not real sure of what I'm going to use on it, but I'm just going through showing you all the stencils, and I'll pick them as I go. I'm letting the gesso dry an extra minute or so. And that's a plaid. I have a lot of plaid stencils, especially I like to go into the area where they, the t-shirt, where you can make your own t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And they have some great ones there. I have a lot of crafter workshops. That's also a plaid stencil. One of my favorites and very well loved, as you can see. That's a crafter's workshop. I don't know if I was going to use that or that. A lot of crafters workshops. I love them. And I just pulled, like I said, I have stencils, so many stencils, and I just pulled what I liked. I love these big ones for the bigger canvases and for watercolor paper when you have the larger ones. So I wasn't sure if I was going to use those or not. So I set them aside just in case. Apparently my focus is going in and out, even though it shouldn't be. But, so then we're going to start. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pick certain colors. And I picked yellow. I think I'm going to show you here in a second. And I got my stencil brush, which was my pouncer, to put through the stencils. Now, if you don't have stencils, you can use stamps. You can use whatever items that you have. It all works great, and it doesn't matter with this technique. I'm just trying something and practicing something and seeing what I can get. So I'm not really concerned of placement or exactly what I'm using. You can sit and just take a paintbrush and draw circles if you want and paint them. It doesn't matter. I've seen this on Pinterest a few times. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has done this or whatever. I'm not taking credit for this. I'm just trying this in my own way, making sure the gesso is dry, which it is. And again, like I said, I've seen so many people do this, like I said, in so many things on Pinterest. I thought, I'm going to try this. So what am I doing? I'm using Gecko in the Ceramicoat, which is one of my favorite colors in the whole entire world. And I'm picking a stencil. I'm taking a while there. Again, use stamps, use whatever you have. I guess I'm showing you the colors that I'm using. Oh, I'm showing you the colors that I'm putting in my palette. So I have yellow, I have that gecko, I have a magenta, I have a dark, I'm going to be using a dark green and purple and a teal. So I put my first stencil down, and yellow is the first color I'm going to use. And I'm just going to pat it all over. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a great turnout of your stencil when you come. You just kind of want a little bit of the texture and the color to come through for our final thing that we do. And I wasn't really thrilled with the way the yellow come out on the background, because the background, I think, like sucked it in and it wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be. So you'll see as I continue, I kind of go over it a little bit, but the yellow does peek through at the end when you see. And I'm just stenciling, like I said, no rhyme or reason. And it's fun to do that. And then I always turn my stencils over and wipe them to get any of the extra paint off the other side. And, you know, so you just get bits and pieces of the color. It's fun to just be random sometimes and not have a real thought process. Another one of my favorite stencils, I've had this stencil forever. I've probably used it, probably 10 years. And now I'm going in with purple. Now what I did was, it came out more brown because I didn't wash my brush off. And then I went in with the yellow to the purple, and what do you get? You get brown. But I like the color. It's like kind of like a golden brown in a sense. So I wasn't too disappointed. But you can see the color there was definitely not purple. But I don't care. I didn't care. Like I said, you know, if I don't like it, I'll, you know, cover it up when I go to do the next process. And then again, just wiping off the stencil on the other side to get whatever paint is on there. I have my little flowery stencil, which I love. I'm throwing that bad boy down, and I'm going to use magenta. It's a Basics Quadrone magenta or whatever, and it's one of my favorite colors. I love it. So I'm just going to town stenciling. And again, it does not have to be perfect. And you're going to see, I quit the pouncing because my hands started hurting. And I just figured, I just want a general idea of what the stencil is. So I started just kind of like going over it. As you can see, you know, if you have a foam brush, use that. But that one came out good. And that was just like kind of like a smeary kind of thing. And then again, turning it over, wiping it, you know, so any of the color comes off on the canvas. You know, I don't use too much paint when I stencil, so I don't have a lot coming off the other side. This is another plaid stencil that I love, that I've had forever. Years and years. And I'm using the Gecko Green, which is my favorite color. One of my favorite colors to use. And it's from Ceramicoat. And I'm just throwing that bad boy down and around. I'm sure we all have our favorite colors. Now I'm getting the, it's golden fluid acrylic. It is permanent green light. And I just use a little bit, and I'm just going, you see I'm smearing it. You can even use, I guess, a credit card or whatever to do the same thing, you know, like as if you're using a molding paste, which after the fact of me doing this and leaving it sit here and dry, I thought, why didn't I use some molding paste? But I didn't. I was so excited to try it. So I just figured I'm just going to do this. Then I'm wiping off, I don't know why I'm wiping my stencil off, but I act like I could clean them. If you saw half of them, they have their own texture of their own. Sometimes I don't know if you're like me and weird, but I like to sit and peel the paint off. I'm a little weird that way. And now I'm taking yeah, the Basics what color is that? Cyan blue, poly cyan blue, something to that effect. It's the Basics. Beautiful bright color. I love the way it came out over top of the colors on the bottom. Don't be afraid to layer. You'll get to see the mistake I made at the end where I thought I was just doing, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And then it really stunk. So you'll see, I'll let you see it at the end, but I'll fix it. Don't quite know how yet. I was going to gesso over it and I thought, leave it. And I'm going to turn it over again. Of course, my MO. Is anything going to come off? Anything? Anything at all? Not really. But it gives you, you can see a little bit, you know, little bits of the paint that does come off, and it just adds more texture. Now, what are we going to do? I hate that yellow in the middle. It's just not doing it for me. These are stamps I got at Michael's, the butterfly stamps. They were 99 cents. Always go to the craft stores, especially Michael's, and like on the ends, the end cap things. My gosh, the stuff. 99 cents for those stamps. Who doesn't want those? And then you don't feel so bad when you're doing stuff. Now I'm putting paint on the butterfly, and you'll see what happens. Plus, everybody knows with new stamps when you get them, when you go to ink them up, especially with paint, because of the silicone or whatever it is, it just doesn't do it. And this color was not dark enough to put on this canvas, which you would think genius me would have known that, but obviously I didn't. And if my voice is behind in the video or ahead or whatever, like it sometimes does, I apologize. So I'm all excited. I'm pushing. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I lift it up. Pew. One of the reasons I had to talk over this was not only to shorten the video, and it was because there was a lot of cursing involved. I'm not going to lie. So now I just take my Archival Ranger black ink pad, which was also a mistake because I didn't want black on this. However, I wasn't thinking because I was so frustrated and flustered, and I did it anyway. And of course, ta-da! Works great. Of course. I couldn't have picked a lighter color, which is what I should have done, as I have 3 other ones sitting here. I picked black. So then I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I really don't like the black. Well, let's take some Perfect Pearls and brush it over. Okay, first, genius. Going to sprinkle it over like that. What are you planning on using the whole tube? Get my brush. Go on. There I go. I'm brushing it on. I tell you, do y'all have those genius moments? I have quite a few daily. I couldn't believe I was going to pour it on. And now I'm like, let me see if I can save any. No. And of course, like everybody who uses Perfect Pearls to set it so it's permanent, you use just a spray of water on it. Now I'm going to hit it with the heat gun to dry it so I can kind of see what I got going on. And I'm drying, and I'm drying, and I'm drying. Now what am I going to do? Now all these little bits and pieces that came with this stamp, which are cute, I'm just going to take the excess paint that I have left in my on my palette. I don't care how dark or how light they come out. It's just going to add more texture. Now it's funny because it looks like I got this big blue blob in the middle of my palette in my canvas right now, but when you look at it like up close, it's not like that, so we're going to have to do something about that. Haven't quite decided yet, but something's going over that. I'm gonna have to go maybe some orange in the middle. Maybe that's what I'll do. But right now I'm just using those little stamps, using the rest of the paint, putting it on there. And this is really fun. This is mindless work. Like if you just want to create something in your journal or on a piece of paper or a canvas that you don't like, or even a blank canvas that you haven't used yet, you know, it's just like mindless, like grab like a bunch of stencils or stamps and just go to town. You don't have to use paint. You can use ink, you know, ink pads. And now that is my finished product.